6 real North Carolina mysteries that are scarier than fiction. North Carolina looks quiet on the surface. Mountains, forests, small towns where nothing ever seems to happen. But there are places here locals avoid without explaining why. Areas with no warning signs, yet everyone knows not to enter. Zones where sound behaves wrong, where equipment fails, where encounters repeat but are never documented. These are not tourist legends. They are not internet stories. They come from residents, from rangers, from people who learned the hard way to stay silent. Some of these places are not officially restricted. They don't need to be, because the people who live nearby already understand. Lock your doors, put your headphones on, pull your blanket tight, because after this, you will never look at North Carolina the same way again. The Appalachian Hollow locals will not cross. There is a hollow in western North Carolina that does not appear on brochures. No signs mark it. No fences block it. And yet, people who live nearby refuse to enter. Generations of families in the region have shared the same rule. You do not cut through that hollow, not at night, not alone, not ever. The land itself looks ordinary, dense trees, a shallow valley, old footpaths that fade into undergrowth. But locals say something there behaves wrong. Hunters report hearing their names spoken from the tree line. Clear, close, in familiar voices. When they answer, nothing responds. Sound behaves strangely in the hollow. Footsteps seem to follow without rhythm. Branches crack without movement. Echoes arrive late, or not at all. Several residents have described the same physical reaction when approaching the area. A sudden pressure in the chest. A drop in temperature that does not match the weather. A feeling of being watched from multiple directions. Animals refuse to enter. Dogs stop at the tree line and will not move forward. Horses become agitated and turn away on their own. There are no official reports, no park records, no documented incidents. Because no one files complaints about a place everyone already avoids. One local man described crossing the hollow once as a teenager. He said the forest went silent halfway through. No insects, no wind, just breathing that did not sound like his own. He ran. He never went back. If this were fiction, there would be a legend, a name, a monster. Here there is only agreement, a shared understanding passed quietly between neighbors, that whatever occupies that hollow does not want attention and does not need permission. The coastal zone people enter by accident and regret. Most people think of North Carolina's coast as open and predictable. Water, pine forest, flat land that feels easy to read. That assumption is why this place works. Inside the Croatan National Forest, there are stretches of swamp where navigation quietly fails. Not dramatically, not all at once, gradually. Locals describe it the same way every time. Your sense of direction starts to drift. Landmarks feel familiar, then slightly wrong. Paths seem to loop without turning. Phones lose signal first. Then GPS begins to lag. Coordinates shift just enough to be useless. Hunters and hikers have reported compasses rotating slowly, not spinning, just refusing to settle. The forest itself looks unchanged. No fog, no storm, no visible hazard. But equipment stops behaving like equipment. Radios crackle with voices that do not answer back. Cameras record static for a few seconds, then recover. Watches desynchronize when people walk the same trail together. Some visitors describe hearing movement in the water, not splashing, not animals. Something heavier, slow, deliberate. When people backtrack, the forest does not look the same. Clearings feel tighter, tree lines closer. Most leave without ever understanding what happened. They just know they walked longer than they should have and ended up somewhere they did not expect. Forest officials acknowledge the terrain is difficult. Wetlands, poor reception. They do not explain why certain zones are quietly discouraged. Not closed, just avoided. Occasionally unmarked vehicles are seen parked on access roads near these areas. They do not stay long. They leave no signs. Locals know better than to wander there alone, not because of animals, not because of getting lost, but because once the forest starts behaving differently, it does not guide you back. It waits for you to figure it out on your own. That forest disorients without warning. The next place does something far worse, because in one small coastal community, the encounters don't happen in the woods. They happen right outside people's homes. The coastal community, where the same night encounters keep repeating. In some coastal communities of North Carolina, the nights are quiet enough that people notice when something is off. That's why this started spreading by word of mouth. Residents began reporting the same encounters, not once, not in the same house, across different neighborhoods, years apart, always at night. People describe stepping outside and seeing a figure standing near the tree line, not moving, not approaching, just watching. The figure is never clear, never detailed, always at the edge of vision. When lights are turned on, it disappears. Not by running, not by retreating, it's simply gone. Others report small lights near ground level, not in the sky, not high enough to be aircraft, low, steady, moving slowly along dunes or marsh edges. Dogs react before people do, barking suddenly, refusing to leave porches, growling at empty space. Several residents have described hearing footsteps on wooden decks, heavy, measured. When doors are opened, no one is there. Security cameras have captured movement, shadows crossing yards, brief light flares. The footage never shows a clear subject, only motion that shouldn't be there. What unsettles locals is consistency. The encounters follow the same pattern, the same distances, the same silence. People compare notes quietly, at grocery stores, at docks, never online. There are no official reports, no police bulletins, because no one can describe exactly what they saw. Only what it felt like something was checking boundaries, not hunting, not hiding, observing. Most residents adjust without realizing it. They stop going outside late. They keep porch lights on. They close curtains they never used before. Life continues, but the encounters don't stop. They just remain unspoken. Those coastal encounters happen close to home. The next mystery is different because it involves a place that once had a purpose, a fence that still stands, and a facility no one can fully explain why it was abandoned the way it was. The federal site that was abandoned without an ending. Hidden behind trees and back roads in central North Carolina, there is a federal site that looks like it should have a history, but doesn't. The perimeter fence is still standing. Warning signs are still posted. Access roads are still maintained. The buildings, however, are empty. Locals say the site was active decades ago. Military vehicles, federal personnel, restricted access. Then one day, it wasn't. There was no public announcement, no decommissioning ceremony, no explanation. The facility was simply left behind. What makes it unsettling is not abandonment. It is maintenance. The grass is cut, the fence is repaired. Security lights occasionally turn on at night, but no one is supposed to be there. People living nearby report vehicles entering the site after dark. No headlights, no markings. By morning, nothing appears disturbed. Some residents claim they've heard generators running late at night, low mechanical sounds coming from buildings with no windows lit. Others report brief radio interference when passing the access road, static spikes that vanish once they leave the area. County records list the land under federal control, but no agency claims responsibility. Requests for information return vague answers. Former use, non-operational, no further detail. If the site were dangerous, it would be sealed completely. If it were irrelevant, it would decay. Instead, it exists in between. Too intact to be forgotten, too quiet to be explained. And when a place is maintained without a purpose anyone will admit, the question becomes unavoidable. What required leaving so quickly, but not leaving completely? That facility was left standing. The next place is worse, because nothing was built there. Nothing was abandoned, and yet the land itself behaves as if it's reacting to something underneath it. The Appalachian Valley, where sound stops behaving normally. In the mountains of western North Carolina, sound carries far. That's how people survive there. You hear weather coming, you hear animals moving, you hear other people long before you see them. Except in this valley, hunters who know the region avoid a specific low basin tucked between ridgelines, not because it's dangerous terrain, but because once you step into it, sound stops making sense. Voices don't echo, gunshots don't travel, footsteps feel close even when no one is there. Several locals have described calling out to hunting partners and hearing nothing return. Not silence, absence, as if the sound never left their mouths. Others report hearing replies that don't match the direction they came from. A voice that sounds like it's behind you, but arrives a second too late. Wind behaves oddly there. Tree branches move, but no rustling follows. Leaves fall without noise. One hiker described clapping his hands repeatedly, trying to test the echo. The sound felt muted, flattened, like it was being pressed down. People don't stay long. Many describe sudden disorientation, a feeling that distance collapses, that the valley feels smaller the longer you stand inside it. No geological warning signs are posted, no official closures exist, because nothing appears wrong. But locals say the valley was never used for farming, never logged heavily, never settled. Older residents say their parents warned them away without explanation, not with stories, with certainty. If you can't hear yourself there, one man said, something else can. That valley reacts to people quietly. The final mystery does not, because in one part of North Carolina, the ground itself began responding, and authorities moved in before anyone could ask why. The ground that triggered a quiet federal response. It started with the ground. Residents in a rural part of eastern North Carolina began noticing subtle changes. Not cracks, not sinkholes, vibrations, low rhythmic pulses that could be felt through the soles of boots. Strong enough to rattle loose objects, too steady to be natural. At first, people blamed distant construction, then storms, then military training. But the vibrations kept coming, even on calm nights, even when nothing was scheduled. Farmers reported livestock acting strangely, refusing certain patches of land, clustering away from specific areas. One property owner described standing still and feeling the ground tremble in short cycles, not shaking, responding. Within weeks, unmarked vehicles began appearing on nearby roads. Survey crews, temporary fencing, no public notices. Then access changed. Land that had been open for decades was suddenly restricted. Not seized, not condemned, just unavailable. Officials cited environmental assessment. No details were released. Seismic instruments were installed quietly, then removed. Residents who asked questions were given polite, incomplete answers. Nothing dangerous, nothing to worry about, but the activity did not stop. Some locals claim the vibrations intensified briefly after the monitoring began, then stabilized, as if whatever was happening had been acknowledged. No reports were filed publicly, no findings were published. The land remains altered, still avoided, still quiet. And what unsettles people most is timing. Authorities did not react after damage occurred. They reacted as if they already knew where to look. These mysteries don't announce themselves. They don't leave ruins or headlines. They leave patterns, restrictions, places people quietly stop talking about, hollows no one crosses, forests that confuse, communities that adjust their lives without being told why. This is not fiction. This is what happens when something real does not fit into an explanation. If one of these stories stayed with you, leave a like and tell us in the comments which North Carolina mystery disturbed you the most, because some places don't need warning signs. The people who live near them already understand,